Don't Sink is an organization that myself and my good friend Justin Nordine came together to build awareness and education for suicide. Last December 5th, my son, after battling a drug addiction for 2.5 years, finally chose a different path in life, and his choice was to take his own life. And so he came to me while I was cooking dinner on December 5th, and he said, "Dad, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm kind of really confused." And I said, "So am I, but I love you, and I'm here for you, and we're in this together. Like we're gonna keep fighting, whatever we got to do." And I said, let's eat some dinner, and then let's go, let's take care of life." And he said, "Okay, I love you." And I said, "I love you too, man." And we hugged just like we did a lot. And he went downstairs to his bedroom, and less than 30 seconds later, I heard a gunshot go off. I ran to his room and held my son while he took his last breaths, and completely changed my world. I was in law enforcement for a long time, and I've seen a lot of suicides, and I've held babies, and but it never really, you suppress it, you kind of hide it, you push it back, and it never hit me until it was my own son. The next morning, I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I went to the local, I think, IHOPs at 4 a.m. and just sat there and drank coffee and ate breakfast and thought about all the things I'd change if I could go back. So Justin Nordine, he's becoming a very successful tattoo artist with his own style. He very close friend. He knew my son, and Justin's dealt with his own social anxiety and depression and his own suicidal thoughts. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, what are you doing this morning?" I said, like 5 days in a row, sitting at the IHOP, and let's get coffee, let's sit down. And we just started talking on a regular basis, and it got to the point where I got really frustrated because I was such a fighter, and for 2.5 years I dedicated every waking moment. I gave up all of my free time, I gave up my career, everything, to really fight for my son and be there. Because if you're working a normal job, it's hard for you to literally drop what you're doing or not come to work for 2-3 days on end while you're dealing with your son's hangover or relapse. I dedicated everything. And then when he's gone, I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't just stop. And so I started going to all these organizations, these local mental health providers, saying, "Put me to work. I'll mop the floors, take out the trash, I'll do whatever. Just put me to work, as long as I'm doing something, and to help for suicide." And the doors kept getting shut. And so then Justin one morning, he said, "So what's the root issue, Mike?" I said, "The root issue is nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's afraid to talk about it. I was afraid to talk about it." He says, "Okay, so how do we talk about it?" And I was like, you know what? Quite a few years ago, I got the semicolon tattoo on my wrist. For some other friends of mine, I had several different friends commit suicide. But the problem is, so people would ask me, and they'd say, "What does that mean? I don't understand. What does that mark mean?" I'd say, "What's a semicolon?" And they're like, "What? Okay, why a semicolon?" And I said, "Well, it's like a sentence, a run-on sentence." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And I'd leave it at that. And I was too embarrassed, too afraid to talk about it, and I'd walk away. So I never used that for what it was meant to be used for. And then the night before my son's memorial service, Justin Nordine tattooed my son's name on my left arm, and the symbol, which means specifically, has something to do with a father and son. So then a couple of days later, I was in a cafe, I was ordering coffee, and this lady's like, "Hey, I know that says Caleb, but I don't know what the next 2 words say. And I know that's probably your family crest, so tell me about it." And I said, "You have 5 minutes, we can talk about suicide." And I said, "That's my son's name, Caleb Hunter Neal. And about 3 weeks ago, he took his own life." And she was like, "Wow." And so we got to talking about it, and that's when, so I told Justin that, and he says, "Okay, so let's use tattoos as a way to start the conversation. And he goes, "Let me talk to the rest of the artists at the Raw Canvas and see if they'll donate their time, and let's do big, bold, colorful pieces. Let's hold an annual event." So there's 6 artists at the Raw Canvas, and September 10th is the day we picked because it's World Suicide Awareness Day. And so Don't Sink, it started out as S.Inc., and it kind of evolved into Don't Sink, S being for suicide, ink being for tattoos. So don'tsink.org. This year for 2017, we're going to select 6 people, because there's 6 artists at the Rock Canvas, and we're going to fly or travel, pay for their expenses, whatever, to get them to Grand Junction, Colorado. 2 of their family members, and we're going to put them up for the night. We'll partner them with one of the artists, and they will come up with a really big piece that helps this survivor start conversations with other people and helps them to heal. And then we'll have a videographer there to video the whole thing, and we'll do a full-length documentary, and every year we'll grow it into more and more studios all across the world. Hopefully every year on September 10th, everywhere in the world, somebody will be getting tattooed as a way to start the conversation and the healing. In order to be eligible, you got to be 18 years or older, and you got to be the survivor of an attempted suicide or a survivor of somebody very close to you that completed suicide. So somebody like in my situation, or a spouse whose husband committed suicide or something like that. And hopefully we'll just keep growing it, and we'll find artists that are passionate about it and want to help us out and get on board. Go to don'tsink.org. That's our website. It's still under construction. We're brand new. We've only been doing this for about a month, and you can go there. There's a link that takes you to a GoFundMe page, or you could just mail us a check if you'd rather not do it through GoFundMe. 100% of that money goes to bringing people into town, to building this movement. We want to teach people how to talk. We want to teach people how to get uncomfortable with themselves and their situation, but eventually start to become more comfortable and break the stigma. The stigma behind suicide is what prevented me from ever saving my son. And it prevents people all over this world every day from saving somebody or saving themselves. We're in a military community right now. There's a lot. I mean, there's a big Army base right here. A lot of military vets. I was a cop for a lot of years, and we have to be tough. We can't talk about our feelings, and there's a big difference between being tough and looking at your best friend or your partner and saying, or your son in my case, and saying, and I feel like you're hurting right now, and you're acting different. Can we talk about it? And that's where I failed my son, and so I don't want to. I can't turn it off, and so if I can save just one person by talking about it, then that's kind of my redeemer, I guess.